Blue Lock Chapter 210 Ace Eater starts with King Baru has changed his appearance. He actually dyed his hair with red streaks as a sign of commemorating his 100 million yen salary. Baru keeps mocking Isagi as Baru got a salary twice as big as Isagi's when the other blue players from Ubers, Aiko, Niko and Ario suddenly butt in. Aiko and Niko tell Isagi that they help Baru to dye his hair, and Aiko adds that Baru wants to get fired up before meeting Isagi. And of course Baru instantly denies Aiko's opinion and explains that he did this to change his image. Obviously. I love by the way how Aiko is already integrated into this whole Blue Lock vibe among the Blue Lock members without ever being a part of Blue Lock before. Aiko then challenges Isagi that Ubers will take the Blue Lock throne. The scene then switches to Blue Lock's general command room with JFU's president Burazuta, who comes in with a box of samples of merch to show to Igo, and he came also up with mascot characters to sell Blue Lock TV merch. For example, a small Blue Lock bear keychain and another keychain with Blue Lock's logo that will vibrate if pressed, and a plushie-like Blue Lock-kun, which is his favorite. But Igo isn't impressed and rejected all the merch and threw it on the floor. At least Henri thought that the Blue Lock bear was a bit cute. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Kaneshiro already spoiled us some ideas of Blue Lock merchandise in the future, like the Blue Lock keychain that will be released as merchandise in real life. Maybe. Nevertheless, Igo feels provoked by Burazuta and tells him to leave, but before doing so, Burazuta reminds Igo of that story Igo promised when Burazuta approved his project. Igo agrees that he knows what Burazuta is talking about and once again tells him in an inappropriate way to leave. Burazuta does so and says, "Football is a business after all." So what could be the story that they are both talking about? Maybe it has something to do with Igo's background story and why he had to retire in the past. We know that Igo is a former pro football player and also once was Noah's biggest rival. We then get back to the Best at Munich Ubers match, and the announcer once again hypes up the matchups between Baru, Isagi and Kaiser, and the match finally begins. Isagi tells during his monologue that he has established a new theory and that he has been training hard for it and that he will for sure score a goal this game and beat Kaiser. Isagi then enters Meta Vision with 100% to blow them away from the start. Kaiser and Ness have the ball in the beginning and get past two Uber players, and Isagi is observing them and thought that Uber's formation is a very defensive one, which is reinforced in the midfield, so even if they manage to get rid of what's in front of you one-on-one, they won't break down easily, as there would always be a second and third person who will come for a press. Niko is the first one to block Kaiser's way and forces him to pass the ball to Ness on his left, who is guarded by Iku. The ball bounced to Grim, and Isagi is surprised about this type of pattern that he is currently seeing. Grim is about to pass the ball back to Ness, but Ness suddenly accelerates and dashes to go in front of the goal alone, when suddenly three players are now coming onto him, but then Grim passes the ball to Kaiser and used Ness as a bait. Kaiser and Niko are now fighting for the ball, and Isagi keeps observing the trio's pattern and sees Ness, who has been in the middle of the field, running to the front line, which caught Uber's defense by surprise. Ness then got through the back, which results into a flawless and unpredictable surprise attack. But just when Kaiser has the ball, an Uber player with a tattoo on his nape appears in front of him. He stopped and then stole the ball with a trap. It's the center of Uber's defense, one of the new Gen World 11 players, the Ace Eater, defender Don Lorenzo. Kaiser's surprise attack is stopped with a single blow, and Best at Munich find themselves in front of the strongest wall, and this is how the chapter comes to an end. So first of all, Isagi is taking his time to analyze his opponents and also the pattern of his own teammates, which is kinda cool to see, and also shows Isagi's growth in analyzing his opponents and become more and more of a playmaker that is able to control the field like Ren did in the second selection. Isagi will have his moment later in the game for sure. The trio of Ario, Aiko and Don Lorenzo basically resemble the glorious defender trio of Chiellini, Bonucci and Basali from Juventus Turin in real life during the first Allegri era from 2014 till 2019. It will also be interesting to see if Ubers are going to play the well-known catanaccio style, where the right midfielder plays a more offensive role but also gets back to support the defense, and where the left wing back is more defensive from the beginning but constantly supports the midfielders and attackers with offensive runs on the left side. Niko basically resembles Pirlo and later Marchisio as CDM and holding midfielder, whose task is to connect the midfield and defense and provide to attackers in front of him and the wing backs on the sides with great long passes. He also supports the defense as a player who drops back behind the back three as a kind of sweeper, or is the first one to put pressure on the opposite attackers, together with the other midfielders next to him to leave as little space as possible to the attackers. So Niko for sure will be an interesting defensive option for the future national team in the center midfield, whenever Japan will need to adjust their tactic to a more strong offensive opponent. We also got to see a new member of the new generation World 11 with Don Lorenzo, who is called the Ace Eater. So for now, we know 4 players of the new generation World 11, Loki, Kaiser, Zai and now Don Lorenzo. I think the next player could probably be a goalkeeper. Alright, what do you think about the recent chapter? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, stay safe and have a nice day.